Alright, welcome back to the Clone Forge, as we finally got around to playing and filming a game featuring the Commander 2017 PreCon decks. Only 4 this year as we play the tribal decks. First we have Arahbo, Roar of the World, who is Selesnya Cats. I like the function they have this year with the effects that your commanders give from the command zone. I think the only time we've seen an effect like that was Oloro. Next is Inalla, Archmage Ritualist. Ronnie pronounces it Inalla. But anyway, she's human wizard tribal. Next is Brian playing the devastating the Dragon, which is of course dragon tribal. And finally we have Edgar Markov Vampire Tribal. Fun. Let's get started. Opening hands. Arahbo goes first, and people all play tap lands turn 1. Then on turn 2, Arahbo plays Hero's Blade. Oh, and Arahbo never sees the battlefield, just to let you know. Normally that's a bad thing, but not with these commanders. More lands from the other players. Arahbo has the most going on with Tranquil Expanse. And then Fleecemane Lion, who is also a cat. Vivid Crag from Inalla. And then Vivid Creek from the Dragon. Edgar's first spell of the game on his turn 3 is Keru Mind Eater, which exiles cards from hand upon combat damage, and then you can play those cards. Speaking of combat damage, Arahbo goes to combat, gives his Fleecemane Lion +3 power from Arahbo's command zone effect, and uses it to attack Dragon for 6 damage. Cats is looking pretty good. He then casts Nissa's Pilgrimage, getting 2 Forests. On Inalla's turn, he casts Curse of Disturbance, and Aura Curse, enchanting the Dragon player. This thing sticks around too. So whenever Dragon gets attacked, Inalla and that player who attacks get zombies. Then on the Dragon's turn, using Dragon's Pay Less Shoe Store ability, he's able to cast his Boneyard Scourge, his first dragon of the game. On Edgar's turn, he attacks Dragon, dealing him a damage with his Mind Eater, and gets a zombie, as well as Inalla. Dragon exiles a card from his hand face down. Much to Inalla's dismay, Edgar casts Blind Obedience, which not only has the benefit of life gain with the Extort effect, but also stops Inalla's hasty wizards from attacking. Inalla complains about Blind Obedience the entire game. Using his commander effect, Arahbo attacks Inalla for 6, and Inalla blocks with his free zombie that he got. Arahbo then casts Kemba, Ka Regent, and equips the Hero's Blade right to it with the Blade effect. Frontier Siege from Dragon, choosing dragons, so on theme. Then on Edgar's turn, he attacks people, gets a zombie, and casts Crackling Doom with the Extort and before blocks, dealing 2 damage to everyone and making them all sat guys. Arahbo attacks Edgar for 6 with his cat in retaliation, but Edgar just blocks with his zombie. Inalla just plays a land and passes, continuing to keep a low profile. On Dragon's turn, he cast Silumgar, the Drifting Death, and with the siege, uses it to fight the crap out of Edgar's Keru Mind Eater because he's tired of losing cards. People hate that guy. Then on Edgar's turn, Edgar Markov joins the battle, who then attacks Dragon to get a zombie. people end up attacking Dragon just to get the zombie. His other guys attack Arahbo and deal him 4 damage. Before passing, Arahbo makes his cat monstrous for some hexproof indestructibility. Arahbo again attacks Edgar, who again blocks with the zombie. Arahbo then casts Traverse the Outlands, which is a sweet new card for 7 basics. But realizing that's too powerful, Inalla casts his second spell of the game with Silumgar's command, choosing to counter the powerful spell and bounce Edgar back to Edgar's hand. Inalla again does nothing on his turn. Ryusi, the Falling Star from Dragon, who then kills another one of Edgar's creatures with the Fight from the Siege. Then on his turn, Edgar casts Blood Hulk Ritualist and multi-kicks it 4 times to make Inalla discard 4 cards. Arahbo again attacks Edgar, and Edgar again blocks with a zombie from Inalla's enchantment. Arahbo then casts Phantom Nishoba. There is a guy I've not seen played since Standard. On Inalla's turn, still reeling from the blow from Edgar, casts Archaeomancer and copies it with Inalla's Command Zone ability, Clone Count 1, getting 2 instants back from his graveyard and pretty much recovered from the discard effect. Dragon plays some Artifact Ramp and then casts the brutal Crucible of Fire, making all of his dragons so much bigger. Fearing a near-lethal attack from the Arahbo player, Dragon leaves his dragons at home. Read the Bones from Edgar, and then Kindred Boon, naming vampires to make Indestructos. On Catman's turn, he goes in for 14 damage at Edgar and gains 10 life from his Trampling Cat Nishoba. Inalla gets his 6th land and once again does absolutely nothing. Dragon casts Steel Hellkite and uses it to fight Arahbo's Phantom Nishoba, dealing it no damage but removes a counter. Edgar casts a regular commander good card, Return to Dust, to exile Dragon's Steel Hellkite and his Dragon Fight Club Siege, since he keeps using it on him. At the end of Edgar's turn, Arahbo makes 4 cats with White Sun Zenith, and then on his turn casts Hammer of Nizan, which auto-equips itself and other equipment you play. Arahbo then strangely sends everything at the Edgar player, despite the lack of a board state. Edgar ends up at 10 life, and with a life gain from the Nishoba, Arahbo goes up to 52. Arahbo is definitely the deck to beat at the moment. So far, no one's really checking him. Then on his turn, still holding a massive grudge, Inalla attacks everything at Edgar. On Dragon's turn, he then casts another new commander card, Fractured Identity, to finally remove Arahbo's Phantom Nishoba and give everyone else a Phantom Nishoba token of their own. Still no attacks from the Dragon player. What is going on? Wanting some payback, Edgar attacks Arahbo with his Phantom Nishoba, bringing Arahbo down to 45 and himself up to 14. Arahbo continues to be the threat on his turn when he casts Nizan, Revered Blacksmith, searching up Sword of the Animist, equipping it, and attacking everything at Dragon. Arahbo and Inalla get zombies, and Arahbo uses Nizan's sweet ability to tap down Dragon's creatures, and Dragon takes a bunch of damage since he doesn't have any open blockers now. He goes down to 7 life. Inalla is still attacking Edgar on his turn. He continues to say it's just because of the blind obedience. Edgar blocks and goes down to 11. Edgar's Falconwrath Noble drains some life from Inalla. He casts Necromantic Selection, wrathing the board and giving Edgar 14 Falconwrath triggers. Edgar splits it up 7-7 between Inalla and Arahbo, since they've attacked him so much this game. Edgar gains 14 life, and Inalla gets Ryusi into play with the Necromantic Selection effect. With not much else to do, and at such a low life total, Dragon comes out mostly as a blocker. Sad. Edgar recasts his commander and also leaves it at home. Luxodon Warhammer from Arahbo, and a bunch of equipment goes on the Fleecemane line. Voltroned up. He then attacks Edgar, who blocks and makes his commander indestructible with the boon. Edgar still takes 11 damage from trample, and Arahbo gains life. On Inalla's turn, he casts Seagate Oracle and copies it with his commander effect. Clone count 2. Dragon has perhaps the play of the game when on his turn he casts Atarka, World Render, and then attacks Arahbo with the Dragon. Dragon is currently 13-13 from the Crucible, and the double strike trigger from the Atarka brings the damage total up to 26, killing Arahbo in one attack. That was pretty special. Then, now down to 3 players, Edgar swords the Plowshare's Atarka, gaining Dragon 9 life. Heirloom Blade equipment from Edgar, who then attacks the Dragon for 8 commander. Then on Inalla's turn, he attacks all out at Dragon, ending his game. Now, Inalla has way more cards in his hand than Edgar. He's been laying low for the majority of the game, and now he's finally starting to play things. He casts Havengul Lich, and Edgar just recasts his commander, since he doesn't really have anything else he can do. Edgar goes to attack, but Inalla just bounces it back to his hand. On his turn, Inalla attacks, and Edgar casts Fairy's Protection, but Inalla just counters it. Edgar takes 9 damage. Then on his turn, with having to kill Inalla this turn basically, casts Skeletal Vampire on his turn, hoping to get enough blockers. The Arahbo player casts and eats pizza on his turn, and then on Inalla's turn, he casts Sullenguard's Command, once again to clear 2 of Edgar's creatures off the battlefield, and swings out with enough damage to kill him, winning the game for Inalla. Wow, that was a long game. I won't go into detail other than to say that the 2 commander standouts this game for me were Arahbo, with a sweet command zone ability who you don't even need to ever cast, and Dragon, who is just the definition of beastie. He is sweet both off the battlefield and even on it. We hope you enjoyed this game of Commander, featuring the Commander 2017 decks, and because they were 4 decks, next time we'll be doing a game of Arch Enemy featuring these decks. Alright, we hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.